Want to know the fastest way to make a narcissist lose interest in you completely? Here are 7 things that will make them leave you alone forever. And number 7 is so powerful, they'll actually start avoiding you like the plague. Most people think you need to fight back, get revenge, or prove your point to a narcissist, but that's exactly what keeps them hooked on you. What really works is becoming completely uninteresting to them as a source of supply. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Now, before we dive in, I need to be clear about something. This isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate them back. This is about protecting your peace and your sanity. Because here's the truth. Narcissists are like emotional vampires. They feed off your reactions, your emotions, your energy. And as long as you keep feeding them, they'll keep coming back for more. The research shows that narcissists operate from a mindset where they believe you belong to them. You're their property, their object to return to whenever they need. That hit of control, fuel, or validation. But here's what they don't want you to know. This entire system falls apart when you stop playing your role in their game. So let's break down the 7 things that will make them lose interest and leave you alone. And stick around for number 7, because it's the most powerful one of all. Number 1, stop providing emotional reactions. The first thing that makes narcissists leave you alone is when you stop providing emotional reactions. And I mean all emotional reactions, not just the negative ones. See, narcissists don't actually care if you love them or hate them. What they care about is that they matter to you. They want to be significant in your emotional world. When you cry, when you rage, when you beg, when you try to reason with them, you're giving them exactly what they want. Think about it like this. Imagine you're dealing with a toddler having a tantrum. What happens when you give that toddler attention for the tantrum? They learn that tantrums work. They'll keep doing it because it gets them what they want, your attention and emotional energy. Narcissists operate the same way, except they're adults with the emotional regulation of that toddler. When you react emotionally to their provocations, their insults, their mind games, you're essentially rewarding their behavior. But here's what happens when you stop reacting. When they say something designed to hurt you and you respond with complete emotional flatness, maybe just okay or I see, they start to panic. Because suddenly their most reliable source of supply has dried up. I'm not talking about fake indifference here. I'm talking about genuine emotional detachment. This means you've done the internal work to truly not care about their opinion of you, their threats, their promises, or their drama. When you reach this level of genuine indifference, something interesting happens. They'll actually escalate their behavior at first, trying harder and harder to get a reaction from you. But when that doesn't work, they start to deflate. Because what's the point of performing for an audience that isn't watching? Number 2, implement total no contact properly. The second thing is implementing total no contact properly. And I emphasize properly because most people think they're doing no contact when they're actually doing it wrong. Real no contact isn't just blocking their number. It's staying out of what experts call the 5 arenas of interaction. That means no direct contact, no indirect contact through friends or family, no checking their social media, no driving by their house, and no responding to any attempts they make to reach you. Think of it like this. Imagine a burglar walking down a street. He comes to a house that's locked up tight, has an alarm system, security cameras, and a big dog barking inside. What does he do? He moves on to an easier target, but if he comes to a house with the windows open, no alarm, no security, guess which house gets robbed? Your no-contact regime needs to be like that first house. Completely locked down. Because narcissists are opportunistic. They'll take the path of least resistance. If you make it easy for them to hoover you back in, they will. This means changing your phone number if necessary. It means blocking them on every single social media platform. It means telling mutual friends that you don't want to hear anything about them, and you don't want them hearing anything about you. But here's the part most people mess up. You also can't be checking up on them. Every time you look at their Instagram, every time you ask a mutual friend how they're doing, every time you drive by their workplace, you're breaking your own no contact. And somehow they always seem to know. When you implement total no contact properly, something powerful happens. You become invisible to them. And narcissists can't manipulate what they can't access. They can't hoover what they can't reach. They can't control what they can't contact. The key is consistency. They might test your boundaries every few months, like that burglar coming back to check if you've left a window open. But when they consistently find all your defenses still up, they eventually give up and move on to easier targets. Number 3, don't defend or explain yourself. The third thing that makes narcissists leave you alone is when you stop defending or explaining yourself. This one is huge, and it's where most people get trapped. Narcissists are masters at making you feel like you need to justify your existence. They'll accuse you of things you didn't do, twist your words, question your motives, and make you feel like you're constantly on trial. And what do most people do? They defend themselves. They explain their side. They try to prove their innocence. They think, if they can just find the right words, the right explanation, the narcissist will finally understand and stop the accusations. But here's what's really happening. Every time you defend yourself, you're entering into their game. You're accepting the premise that you need their approval, their understanding, their validation. You're giving them power over you. Think about it. When someone accuses you of something ridiculous and you immediately jump to defend yourself, what message are you sending? You're saying that their opinion matters to you. You're saying that you need them to believe you're a good person. But what happens when you don't defend yourself? When someone says you're selfish and you just shrug and say, okay? When they accuse you of not caring and you respond with, if you say so? They lose their power over you because the whole game depends on you caring what they think. Now, I'm not saying you should never defend yourself in life. If someone at work makes false accusations that could affect your job, of course you defend yourself. But with a narcissist in your personal life, the only winning move is not to play. When you stop defending and explaining, you're essentially saying, yeah, I don't need your approval to know who I am. And that terrifies them, because their whole control system is based on making you doubt yourself, making you seek their validation. This also means you stop trying to prove you're a good person to them. You stop trying to show them how much you've done for them, how loyal you've been, how much you care. Because none of that matters to them anyway. They're not capable of appreciating it. Instead, you save your energy for people who actually deserve explanations. People who approach you in good faith. People who actually care about understanding you. Number 4, become genuinely indifferent. The fourth thing is becoming genuinely indifferent to them. And I want to emphasize genuinely, because fake indifference doesn't work. They can sense it. Genuine indifference means you truly don't care what they do, who they're with, whether they're happy or miserable, whether they succeed or fail. You don't care if they're talking about you to others. You don't care if they're trying to make you jealous. You don't care if they're playing victim to get sympathy. This is different from hatred. When you hate someone, you're still emotionally invested in them. You still care. You just care in a negative way. But they can still feed off that energy. True indifference is like they don't exist in your emotional world anymore. They become as relevant to your happiness as a stranger you passed on the street 3 years ago. But how do you get to genuine indifference? It starts with grieving. You have to grieve the relationship you thought you had. You have to grieve the person you thought they were. You have to grieve the future you imagined with them. This grieving process is crucial because you can't become indifferent to someone you're still hoping will change. You can't become indifferent to someone you're still trying to understand or fix or save. Once you've done that grief work, something shifts. You start to see them clearly for what they are. Not this powerful figure who controls your emotions, but a deeply damaged person who's stuck in patterns they can't or won't change. And when you see them that way, you stop taking their behavior personally. You realize their cruelty isn't about you, it's about their own internal emptiness. Their need to control isn't about your worth, it's about their own insecurity. This genuine indifference is like kryptonite to narcissists. Because remember, their whole identity is built around being significant to others. When you become truly indifferent, you're essentially saying, you're not important enough to affect my emotional state. And that destroys their false self-image. They might try harder to get a reaction at first. They might escalate their behavior, spread rumors, try to make you jealous. But when none of it moves you emotionally, when you respond to all of it with the same energy you'd give to hearing about a stranger's problems, they start to lose interest. Number 5, focus on your own life completely. The fifth thing that makes narcissists leave you alone is when you focus on your own life completely. And I mean completely. Not just pretending to move on while secretly hoping they'll notice and want you back. This means you stop living your life in reaction to them. You stop making decisions based on what they might think or how they might react. You stop posting things on social media to make them jealous. You stop going to places hoping you'll run into them. You stop doing things to prove you're better off without them. Instead, you start living for yourself. You pursue your own goals, your own interests, your own happiness. You invest in relationships that actually nourish you. You work on projects that excite you. You build a life that's so fulfilling that you don't have time or energy to think about them. Here's what happens when you do this. You start to glow. People who are living authentically, pursuing their passions, investing in their growth, they have this energy about them that's magnetic. They're attractive not because they're trying to be, but because they're genuinely happy and fulfilled. And narcissists hate this. They hate seeing you thrive without them. It destroys their narrative that you need them, that you can't survive without them, that they were the best thing in your life. But more importantly, when you're genuinely focused on your own life, you become unavailable as a source of supply. You're not sitting around thinking about them, analyzing their behavior, wondering what they're doing. You're busy living your actual life. This also means you stop trying to compete with them. You don't try to prove you're happier, more successful, or better off. You don't engage in the comparison game at all. Because when you're truly focused on your own path, other people's paths become irrelevant. I've seen this happen over and over again. People who completely redirect their energy toward their own growth and happiness find that the narcissist naturally fades from their life. Not because they're trying to make it happen, but because they've become genuinely uninterested in the drama. The narcissist might try to pull you back into their orbit with crises, with promises to change, with attempts to make you jealous. But when you're truly invested in your own life, these attempts feel like interruptions rather than opportunities. Number 6, stop trying to expose or change them. The 6th thing is stopping all attempts to expose or change them. This includes trying to warn their new supply, trying to get mutual friends to see who they really are, trying to make them face consequences for their actions, or trying to get them to acknowledge the harm they've caused. And I know this is hard to hear, especially when you've been hurt badly. Your sense of justice is screaming that they should be held accountable. You want people to know the truth about who they really are. You want them to face consequences for their actions. But here's the reality. Every time you try to expose them, you're giving them exactly what they want, your attention and energy. You're proving that they still matter to you, that they still have power over you. Think about it from their perspective. When you're out there trying to warn people about them, you're essentially advertising how much impact they had on your life. You're showing everyone that months or even years later, you're still thinking about them, still affected by them. And narcissists love this. Even negative attention is still attention. Even being seen as the villain is still being seen as significant. Plus, trying to expose them often backfires. Narcissists are usually charming to outsiders. They've likely already painted you as the crazy ex, the unstable one, the person who can't let go. So when you try to tell people the truth, it often just confirms their narrative about you. The same goes for trying to change them. Every time you send them articles about narcissism, every time you try to get them to go to therapy, every time you explain how their behavior affects others, you're wasting your energy on someone who either can't or won't change. And more importantly, you're staying emotionally invested in their growth and development. You're making their progress your business. But their healing isn't your responsibility. Their self-awareness isn't your project. When you stop trying to expose or change them, you free up enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy. Energy that you can redirect toward your own healing, your own growth, your own life. The most powerful thing you can do is live well. Success is the best revenge, but not because it hurts them, because it heals you. When you're thriving, when you're happy, when you've built a beautiful life without them, that speaks louder than any expose ever could. Number 7, become emotionally unavailable as supply. And finally, the 7th and most powerful thing that makes narcissists leave you alone, becoming completely emotionally unavailable as a source of narcissistic supply. This is the ultimate combination of everything we've talked about. You're not just avoiding contact, you're internally unavailable. You're not just not reacting, you're genuinely unmoved. You're not just focusing on your life, you're completely absorbed in it. When you become emotionally unavailable as supply, you're essentially turning off the tap that they've been drinking from. And just like any addict, when their supply runs dry, they have to find a new source. This means you don't provide them with any emotional reactions, positive or negative. You don't provide them with attention, validation, or significance. You don't provide them with drama, conflict, or chaos. You don't provide them with sympathy, pity, or rescue opportunities. You become like a gray rock, completely uninteresting, completely unreactive, completely unavailable for their games. But here's the key. This isn't a performance. This isn't something you do to manipulate them into leaving you alone. This is something you do for your own peace and sanity. Because when you're truly emotionally unavailable as supply, you're free. You're free from their manipulation. You're free from their drama. You're free from the constant emotional roller coaster. You're free to live your life on your own terms. And when you reach this level of emotional unavailability, something beautiful happens. You stop attracting narcissistic people altogether because you're no longer broadcasting the signals that make you an attractive target. So there you have it, the 7 things that make narcissists leave you alone. Stop providing emotional reactions, implement total no contact properly, don't defend or explain yourself, become genuinely indifferent. Focus on your own life completely. Stop trying to expose or change them, and become emotionally unavailable as supply. Remember, this isn't about punishing them or getting revenge. This is about protecting your peace and reclaiming your power. When you implement these strategies, you're not just making them leave you alone, you're setting yourself free. The goal isn't to hurt them. The goal is to heal yourself. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away and build a life so beautiful that you forget why. If you found this video helpful, hit subscribe for more content on psychological dynamics and social influence. Keep checking back daily for more pragmatic principles. And drop a comment below, share your own personal experience. See you in the next video.